Okay, we'll call the Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, Williams County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. Beth, we call roll, please.
Barry,
Here.
Corey,
Here.
Bo,
Here.
David.
Here.
We have a quorum. We will continue. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's start with the consent agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, we're moving on to item D. Any public comments? Any general public comments? How about the Anderson crew? Just seeing if you guys are awake over there. Okay, moving on to report of department heads, item E, number 1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have one behavioral health grant extension request for you from Playworks. They're doing a construction project in the old Lutheran Social Services building. She has had an adventure with contractors and just trying to get the project done. So this would hopefully be her final request for an extension through the beginning of December, just so that way she can get through and continue to pay bills for the contractors when they feel like showing up. So.
Okay.
Motion to approve is presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Beth, roll call vote.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Helen, you're up.
Only one page of notes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have just 3 things. First, we can go through the item on the agenda, which is the open position report. We do have just as a bit of background, the sheriff's office and multiple agencies in the region make up the sheriff is on a board for the Northwest Narcotics Task Force. And there are employees from each of the affiliated agencies that are law enforcement officers that participate as task force officers. But then there are 2 employees that work to support the efforts of the task force, and that position is what you see here on the list for approval to fill. I would say that it's actually the board on which the sheriff serves that would make the final decision about whether or not this position would be filled, because that board oversees the funding that runs the task force. However, I put it on this list for you because, assuming the board goes through that process, we will be advertising it as a Williams County position because we are in zone land, we're the host county, we're the fiscal agent for the task force. So I don't know that you have to actually make a motion to do this, or you could procedurally, but there's actually a board in between us and this position. So I think if you want to just leave it, we sure can.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Follow-up from the last meeting. A citizen was here during the public comment section. Nick Haugen was in. I believe at the time he talked to you about roads in Paradise Point and Nesson Valley Township, which is unorganized. So he may have been speaking to you a little bit as the township board. Just as a point of follow-up, all of the roads that he spoke to you about are owned by the Paradise Point Homeowners Association. Karen did some research, and actually we had documentation that showed that that was pretty easily available. And then the township has actually not been levying any dollars. And so I think his concern was if the township was collecting tax dollars and they weren't receiving any benefit, was there a conversation to be had? So he and I did have a meeting last week because he also had some questions about a TIF district in which he owns property elsewhere in the county. And we got some answers from the city and from our legal and taxation team on that as well. So Nick and I met and talked about both of those things, and I think answered his questions. Although I encouraged him to come back and talk to this group as the township board if he had additional questions about funding within the township.
Okay.
Hey, Ellen, do we, I actually talked to Nick a little bit also, and one of the things that he was talking about was the township taking over the Paradise Point roads at one point. Did he go any further on that? Because we had kind of said, well, they'd have to be brought up to county specs and,
Right, that was my conversation with him too, was, every township and the county, for that matter, has the authority to accept roads or not accept roads into their system. And so I've never, it's been pretty rare, if ever, that a township has accepted subdivision roads, in particular, unless they meet county specs. So I actually do have those county spec documents. I got them from Dennis at the end of last week. I'm going to mail those out to Nick so that he can see what that would be if Paradise Point wanted to meet that standard. I think, having learned a little last week, part of the trick is that subdivision roads are more like a residential road, and it would be hard to hit the width requirements that we have for the kind of equipment we use and the methods that we use for maintaining them.
So they'd be better off leaving them as the homeowner association
or a city.
or city. Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Kemp did offer to Nick, and I think offers to anyone who has these kind of problems within a subdivision or a large grouping of residences. Well, you could incorporate as a municipality, and then you have some control over the ways in which you would generate money to maintain roads.
They could still, even as a homeowners association, they can still do a special assessment district, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I didn't dig into that too deep, but, yeah.
Karen's nodding her head.
And I think the other thing that Commissioner Kemp mentioned to them was they could always reconstitute the township, whatever process that would be to reorganize, I guess is what it would be. And then but again, as the township, they'd have responsibility for a wide assortment of things and not just the roads within their subdivision. So I think, I don't
Because they'll
know.
have the same issues even if they had their own township board. The township can't legally spend money in their subdivision unless they turn the roads over to the township, but they'll have the same process.
Right.
But this will not be a uncommon request, because I've talked to people from Lukenville. They all think the same thing. So,
Right, it does, in the same way that roads are expensive and a difficult asset for us to maintain. I think homeowners associations find that same burden. Yep.
Okay.
The other follow-up item that I would have is, of course, we had an election on Tuesday, and we had, I think, great turnout actually for a primary election. Beth, was it the most since 2016? I think so. Beth is giving me a look like maybe that is correct. Yeah, great turnout. Of course, we'd always love to have more people, but there were a lot, and we have 2 commission seats that were on the ballot that will go into the November election. The primary is a one-time run for measures that are on the ballot, and then for city and park board related elections. And so, of course, the city will have some new commissioners, and we had city elections throughout the county, actually. The $4 per water bill for vector control through the city of Williston passed, and so that will continue to generate revenue for the Williams County Vector District. I talked to the director last week. He said we've had a great season so far, which we have. The mosquito count is low. Durrell's doing great, but well, the water on the river is coming up, and so they continue to do work to make sure that it continues to be true. Boy, it'd be a miracle if we made it through the summer without one big hatch right around the 4th of July. It always feels like, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
we're coming into it. It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I know. Believe me, Toad Barbeau's all over me on this.
So that $4 passed, voters affirmed that to be on the ballot or to continue to be collected. And then, of course, the sales tax, the extension of the sales tax was also affirmed by the voters. So there is some work to do there before we have any deep, meaty discussions about the expenditure of that money. Of course, we really won't be collecting it until, or we won't be receiving it until a year from now. The tax will be implemented April 1st, and then there is a period in which the vendors, what are they called? The merchants, thank you. The merchants remit the money, the tax department processes it and gets it out to all of the eligible agencies. And so I would expect June 2025 is when the first of those dollars would arrive, would be seamless with the ending of the other sales tax. So there's work for our legal team to do related to some state tax department paperwork, and then there'll need to be a resolution here. As I understand it, the board imposes the tax once the taxpayers have affirmed that decision. And so we'll bring that forward to a July meeting at some point. And then at some point, this board will have a discussion, let's hope in July, we'll have a conversation about sort of scoping the priority projects and looking to a plan for how we'll proceed on some of those countywide, maybe smaller scale projects. So working on that a little in the background. Much more information to come to you on that. All right, any questions for me?
Yeah, perfect. Got us to 8:12.
Okay, happy summer.
Yeah.
I guess this is what happens in the summer. Things are pretty chill.
Is it the first meeting in July when we have the budget hearing dates and all that stuff? Or we
Our
have those
budget
out
hearings
already?
will be the middle of July.
Yeah.
Yeah, so second cycle.
Helen, did you or Christie send out calendar invites for the budget hearings?
I don't remember, but I'll double check. If not,
You trying to figure out when you're going on vacation?
Somebody did, because I have them.
You do, okay, I'm just teasing you.
Right behind you.
I know. What a turkey. Huh? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay, we've reached item G. Oh, wait, do we need to? Okay, adjournment. We are adjourned.
Yeah, papers to sign.